أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا أبي القاسم محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله.
Inshallah, everyone is enjoying Layali Qadr these days. We've had one to go tomorrow, inshallah. So hopefully we all can benefit from these Layali and use them wisely. So staying up, doing a bit more amal, reading Dua al-Jawshan, which is so cool. Every time you read it, you just feel something new. So inshallah, we're all enjoying, I guess, Layali Qadr even in isolation. Unfortunately, today is the last lecture of the RSR series. It has been fast, but it has been fun. Inshallah, it has benefited you all, as it has benefited us. So thank you guys so much for giving us the opportunity to do these lectures, because we have learned a lot from doing them themselves. But inshallah, we all have benefited from this program. As we said, we start every single lecture with the recitation of Dua al-Faraj, so we can have the blessing and the presence of our Imam Mahdi Ajjallahu Ta'ala Faraj al-Sharif. So if we can all read the dua together, it'd be great. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Throughout RSR, our main topic has been Hadith al-Nafs, and we have explored the different souls that Imam Ali says we have inside of us. We started with the plantic soul, talking about the increase and decrease and our growth, and how the plantic soul acts as our clock in this world to give us how much time we have left. Then we moved on to talk about the animalistic soul, talking about how it allows us to interact with this world, giving us our desires and our senses. We then introduced the concept of the divine intellectual soul, or the human soul, which was our tool that we use to actualize ourselves from insan tam to insan kamil. We talked about the 4 different steps that we need to even actualize that soul, and they were loving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, love of Ahlul Bayt, dhikr, and then hanging out with the right crowd. And then today we have finally reached the last lecture, which is the divine universal soul. And last week we talked about how the ego was this thwarting thing that stopped us from actualizing our human soul and didn't even let us reach the universal soul. So inshallah, we'll now look at the last soul, which is the most complex soul, but the most highest level in terms of the 4 souls. So in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's system, He created a hierarchy sort of, whereby we have to actualize one soul before we can move on to the next one. So if you remember, we talked about how the plantic soul actualizes at conception. So as soon as we're an embryo, we start dividing. So that's when the growth begins. So we talked about how that was the first soul to actualize, and it was as soon as we're sort of created. Next up was the animalistic soul, which was actualized later on, when we started developing those organs that allow us to have sensation. It was in our development in the womb. We then talked about the divine intellectual soul, how that comes to us when we're born, but only actualizes after a lot of work. But only after actually actualizing the divine intellectual soul, or the human soul, can we even think of looking at the divine universal soul. It's like that level beyond, and requires the one before it to be actualized for it to begin. So that's just something that we just want to highlight, how beautiful Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it. How you need one to even start the other one. So it's like a chronological order. And that's why we've sort of based our lecture series in this order. we had to talk about one to move on to the next one. So pretty much the main purpose of the Divine Universal Soul is to allow us to reach this thing we call the neighborhood of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And to understand this concept, we have to sort of get that we can never physically be close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is everywhere, right? So there He is always close to us physically. So being in the neighborhood of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't mean to be in His proximity, like close to Him. It means to be so detached from this world, so realizing that you are only the servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and nothing else. So you're not seeing yourself, shattering your ego completely, and only seeing yourself as a servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That level is the neighborhood of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's when we reach a level in our development or in our nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in His love that we do not see anything but Him. We see, remember when we talked about our safeguarded heart, we said that we see everything through Him. When we reach that level, that's when we're in the neighborhood of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if you want to know people that reached that level, it's the Prophet, peace be upon him, and the Ahlul Bayt, and the Prophets themselves. All these people that reached this level of insan kamil, but even took a step further and became fully detached from this world and fully immersed in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These are the people that reach the neighborhood of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that's why we use them as guides. That's why the love of Ahlul Bayt is super important, because we need to learn how they achieve such a level and how we can reach that level. The unique thing about the neighborhood of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is there's never a limit. You can always reach a level beyond. And so when we always say the closest person to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the Prophet, peace be upon him, because he reached the nearest in the neighborhood of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what we're showing here is you can always reach a level further. Like you always get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because it's not like this physical sort of proximity. Alright, so that was just a bit about like the general thing about this soul. But now let's look at the part of the hadith that talks about the divine universal soul. And it is والكلية الإلهية لها 5 قوى بقاء في فناء ونعيم في شقاء وعز في ذل وفقر في غناء وصبر في بلاء ولها خاصيتان الرضا والتسليم وهذه التي مبدأها من الله وإليه تعود. قال الله تعالى ونفخت فيه من روحي in Surah Al-Hijr ayah 29. وقال تعالى يا أيتها النفس المطمئنة ارجعي إلى ربك راضية مرضية. Surah Al-Fajr ayah 27 and 28. So what's interesting about this bit of the hadith is Imam Ali actually tells us what the divine universal soul is. It's the ruh, that concept that in the first lecture we said is not the same as the nafs, because the nafs was the quality we gave to each of these 4 souls. It's what each of these things are. It's these things inside of us that have the different faculties, the different tools, different jobs that combine and make up who we are. But the divine universal soul specifically is that bit that comes directly from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That bit that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, نَفَخْتُ فِيهِمْ مِنْ رُوحِي, I blew into them from my spirit. That is what the ruh is. It's the divine universal soul itself. It's this holy entity inside of us that came directly from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the translation is, the divine universal soul has 5 tools: existence in annihilation, peace of mind in hardship, dignity in humiliation, poverty in richness, patience in challenges. And it has 2 characteristics: contentment and submission. It is the soul that originates from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to Him it will return. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I blew into them from my spirit, and He also says, O secure soul, return to your Lord, content and satisfied. Alright, so that was just a translation of what we just talked about before. So now let's, as we do when we introduce each of the souls, we'll look at the origin, then the characteristics, then the tools. So let's look at the origin first. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said the soul was a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's what He tells us in the Quran. It's something that comes from directly from Him, but He also says it will return to Him. That was in Surah Al-Fajr. What's important about this, it shows us that there is a part that it's that part of us that is like what sort of drives us to return to Him. It's that part of us that's like sort of like immortal, I guess. It's that bit of us that is born pure, returns pure. But the thing is, depending on how much of it we access, is how pure we ourselves become. So that's, just a bit more about the origin of the soul. We're not going to delve really into the origin because it's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We really don't know much more about it. It's something that comes from something that returns to Him. But we really can't understand more about it because it's in alam al-ghayb. It's in something that's beyond this dunya. All we can learn about it is from the Quran. But now let's look at the characteristics. And Imam Ali said there were two: contentment and submission. And before any of the red flags come up, yes, we did talk about contentment in the animalistic soul lecture. We said, remember, the opposite of anger was rida. But remember, we said there was a distinction between the two. We said there was the one that we're going to talk about, the rida of the dunya, and we sort of limited it to there, and we said we'll talk about the other one in future, the rida that comes later. And it's this rida, it's the rida of the divine universal soul. So, just to give you guys a bit more understanding of what this rida actually means, in Arabic we have two different words to mean sort of a similar concept. We have rida, but we also have qana'a. The question here is, what is the difference between these two? Theoretically, they both translate to the same thing. It's contentment. If I'll give you an example, but really, qana'a is like the overarching concept, and rida is a subset of it. I'll give you an example. If there is, let's say, a child, right, and they're told, let's say, they can't go to a specific party, they can surely, they can go, okay, I understand why my parents would say no. They'd be content, like, okay, fine, sure, that sounds logical. But they might not necessarily be happy with that decision. So that's the difference between rida and qana'a. Qana'a is just accepting something and understanding that that's the truth. But then realize that step further where you're completely happy and just super, at ease with this decision. So that's the difference. That's why it's sort of like a more in-depth sort of version of qana'a. So it's Imam Ali actually classifies each of the characteristics in 3 different stages. So we'll look at each of these stages separately. The first stage of rida is being content with the lordship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So understand what that sort of means. It's sort of making Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's contentment with you the most loved thing to you. What does that even mean? Remember, in our Loving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala lecture, we said that we want to try making the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the most loved thing in our heart. But this is taking it a step further. It's for us to have what He is content with the most loved thing to us. So it's not just us loving Him, it's doing everything because we know that's what makes Him happy. Because we can easily say we love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and we can do things and have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as like that background sort of reason why we do it. Like, let's say, for example, we can still play video games and be like, I'm taking this as my downtime. Imam Khalid told me I have a quarter of my time as my downtime to do whatever I want. But theoretically, we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we can guess that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not theoretically content with us playing video games. He'd be like, yeah, that's fine, you can do that in your spare time. But to actively want to do everything to make Him happy is this level of rida. It's also making Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's contentment with you the priority in your life. So yeah, that's sort of like a similar point, and more elaboration on it. Making it that goal that you seek in everything you do. So rather than playing video games, you'd read Quran, or you'd teach people about Islam. Have that as your full focus, because you know that's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would make Him happy. And finally, making Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's contentment with you the most worthy thing to obey. So we haven't really, in this lecture series, touched on obeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala a lot. We've said it's super important and it's a sign of loving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But obeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is actually super important. It's like, I guess, a step further. We can easily say we love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but then not follow everything He says in terms of mustahabbat and makruh things. I'm not talking about halal haram, because that definitely shows you if you believe, if you love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or not. But I guess doing everything that's mustahab and avoiding makruhat, like the plague, would really, it shows that you really do love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's like evidence. And it's why Ahlul Bayt and the Prophets all took this mantra in their lives. we see a lot of the time they ask for forgiveness, and we always question, why are they asking for forgiveness? That doesn't make sense. They don't sin. They're infallible, right? That's true. But what they ask for forgiveness is from this stuff. From just a little, like if their action has a little bit of an intention that's not 100% towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they ask for forgiveness for that. Yet we ask for forgiveness for things that are 100% against what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says. It shows you the difference between someone who's just actualizing, we're working towards actualizing a divine intellectual soul, but they've reached the stage where they're in their divine universal soul. That's the difference between us in the dunya and the neighborhood of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That was stage 1 of Rida, by the way. Stage 2 is being content with the judgment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His system. And to explore this a bit further, it's pretty much how your state, or you as a person, like how your tawajjuh, or your tawajjuh in Arabic, and sorry in English, is your not goal, but I guess your orientation doesn't waver at all, even if you're put in through hardship. A lot of the time, as soon as we face hardship with, why is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala making me go through this? Instantly we wave. Not only we wave, we completely deviate off the track. But it's not even have that little bit of doubt or hesitation when we get presented with hardship, to realize that it's actually a blessing. It's also to not take any of the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as an opponent. This one's harder. And this one requires a bit more of our focus, I guess, because if we just say this, we can easily hear the argument saying, "Wait, you're telling us to love Yazid, not see Yazid as an opponent? Surely we see Yazid as an opponent." We're not saying that. We're saying not to judge Yazid's potentiality by Yazid's actions. If you want to understand it further, the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was the potentiality, and Yazid himself, but his actions were of his own doing. So you can hate the action, not the person, you know what I mean? By the person we mean the inside, or the actual nafs of Yazid. We're not talking about his physical form and what he has done. So that's what we're trying to say. It's to be able to love everything that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made and not see anything as an opposition. Rather, we can hate action specifically and the result of failed potentiality, but we can never hate the potentiality itself. So that's just a bit more delving into that. The last one is to be dependent on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and no one else. This one's hard, because a lot of time in the dunya specifically, we face hardship and then we see people help us. So it's really easy to delude ourselves to think that it's them people helping us and we can depend on them. But we have to remember that those people are only given that capability to help us because of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So just having those links back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is where we can achieve that second stage of rida. Now stage 3. I'm sorry, this is a really content heavy, dense muhadara, but it's not too long, so inshallah we can go through it. The last stage is being content with the contentment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is actually the biggest inception ever. Being content with the contentment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it's really what comes with having that safeguarded heart. Because what you'll realize when you truly have a safeguarded heart and everything you do is through Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you realize His contentment is what's best for us, and it's what humans are meant to have. And so you're content with that. So you get rida from His rida. And interesting, one of the people that loved Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, "Uridu an la urid." I want to not want, because he realized that nothing he does, he should do because he wants it, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants it. And that's contentment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's contentment. Being happy that all our actions should be what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants, and us not wanting anything. Even us wanting to have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's actions, theoretically, is a stage we want to get rid of, which is really hard. And for us that haven't reached that stage, it is hard to describe and hard to understand. But to break it down, it's for us, so these are 5 characteristics that sort of characterize someone who has contentment and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's contentment. The first one is to always assume good things. No matter what, assume the good, because in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's system, things are always predisposed to goodness. It's human and shaitan deception and the ego's influence that can predispose things to badness. So having that good outlook on everything, that sort of holistic thinking. Openness of the chest, and this differs to openness of the mind. A lot of time we be open-minded to everything. That concept's not right. Being open in the chest means being able to accept everything as part of the system of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, rather than accepting things and taking them on board. That's really what open-mindedness sort of stems from. But in Islam, we know that there are some things that are right and wrong. So being open-minded to everything means you're accepting the wrong. That's not what we want. Being open-chested, sort of, chest is really hard to... The translation is sort of lost in English, but in Arabic it sort of makes more sense. Sadrak, yani, having an expanded chest. And the person with the most open chest was the Prophet, peace be upon him. The next one is detachment from being closed, the closed upness feeling we have, and envy. So we said last lecture that envy stems from the ego, and this closed upness, like being in your own sort of bubble. Breaking free of that is also important, like not realizing, because it's great sometimes, to have the hijab and to be in your own sort of safe space, but to realize that it's your own space puts the ego in there. So detaching yourself from that space and realizing that you are just a servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is another step. Number 4 is being unaffected by others. So shielded by all wrong and negativity, which sort of links to having all those good assumptions, but also not letting it infiltrate. So having a perfect hijab. And lastly, being enthusiastic. Not doing a'mal because you have to and you probably should because you want to reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's happiness, but actually actively being excited for Laylatul Qadr every time it comes around. When reading Dua Joshan Kabir, not going, okay, we're halfway there, 20 of the things left, 10 left, oh, we're up to the last one, can't wait. A lot of us have those feelings, and unfortunately, it comes with being tired because Laylatul Qadr is at night time. But we have to try getting rid of that, instead being enthusiastic, and sort of even feeling sad that you're up to 99, because it's going to end. And I guess even when you reach that point, maybe being enthusiastic, going, oh, now I'm ready for the next Amal. I can't wait to start Dua Kumayb, you know what I mean? It's really hard, and it's hard to apply, but inshallah we can apply it. So that was Urida. Now we're up to submission, and there are also 3 stages, so get ready for this wild ride. Submission is accepting the things we cannot comprehend. This one's hard, and we can really see it play out with people that don't accept the hijab. We remember that a lot of the time people say, I don't wear the hijab because I just don't understand how it's relevant to Islam. It's not my Islam. First of all, there's no such thing as your Islam, because Islam is a way of life Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to all of us. So you can't say you want your own personalized version of Islam and pick and choose, because that's not really how it works. By the way, I'm not mocking these people. I'm just trying to show that this thinking isn't the thinking we need for the divine universal soul. So sorry if I offend anyone. I do apologize there. But what I'm trying to prove is that thinking isn't theoretically right, especially when we reach the level of the divine universal soul and we want complete submission. Because that's really what submission is. It's to realize that we are limited, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not. His system is perfect. We shouldn't question it, even if we can't comprehend its little intrinsic things. And by the way, when I talk about hijab, I show this image of the physical barrier of the woman. But remember, it's also for men too. Lowering our gaze is super important. A lot of us struggle with it. Remember, if we are to be fully submitted to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we have to abide by the lowering of our gaze and having our hijab, which is from belly button to knees. And so there are a lot of, unfortunately, people who are deluded with notions of we can choose our own sort of stylized version of Islam. Unfortunately, that thinking isn't right, especially when we reach this level. And we have to sort of begin to remove that level of thinking. Alright, stage 2 of submission is accepting the experiences we cannot comprehend. This one's a bit trickier to understand, but I guess it's when you're out there, for example, and you see something and you have an idea about a more universal sort of concept about it. Not saying, for example, what I mean by this, it may sound really confusing. If you see a child in poverty, and then you see someone else in poverty who helps that child in poverty, you didn't help yourself. Not going is, wow, oh, that guy is so awesome, I can never be like that, move on with your life. That's not what you should, you can't just dismiss things if you can't comprehend them. Accepting that if that person can do it, you can too. Especially if you have this thinking of submission. And so actually changing yourself based on that. This also can be seen in many different levels, the levels that we haven't reached. Especially just trying to imagine what the Anbiya and the Imam would see in their daily lives. Is just something like a bit of food for thought, I guess. Stage 3 is accepting that there is no truth but the truth. So there is no truth except the system of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And only if we achieve these 3 stages have we actually become Muslim. Yeah, this one's hard because we always preach, we're Muslims. We tell people, they ask us, what's your religion? We say Islam. What does Islam even mean? Directly translating, it's to be fully submitted to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yet here we're showing that full submission does not come after these things have been achieved. So we have a long way to go to call ourselves true Muslims, I guess. We can call ourselves Muslims, sure, because we're on the path to this, but by no means are we true and fully complete Muslims. And the reality is, Islam is a way of submission, right? But we said that divine universal and our neighborliness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is never ending. There's no limit. We can always keep striving for more. So we can never reach that threshold of a fully complete Muslim. You can always strive for more and more and more. Never think that you've reached a level and you're good enough and you're content at that level. Always strive to have that excitement and go a level further. By the way, I tell myself this before anyone else. I'm nowhere near this level. Divine Universal is really complex, and inshallah some level that we all try striving together. That's the characteristics. Now after the faculties, and the Imam says there are 5. There was existence in annihilation, peace of mind in hardship, dignity in humiliation, poverty in richness, and patience in challenges. I know I'm going through these fast, but it's because we're going to go through each of them separately. So just chill. If you thought I went through them quickly, chill. We're going to go through them now. I guess for us not having reached that level, it's a lot of them hard to visualize these things. So we should also look at the experiences of Ahlul Bayt and the Prophets and their stories, and it really gives us a bit more insight to these concepts. So the first one is existence in annihilation, and it's to not see ourselves ever, and see ourselves as just part of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's system. So what we mean by existence in annihilation is we exist, sure, because we're the creations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but we exist in this annihilated sense of self. The sense of self that we have is gone. We no longer see ourselves as a separate entity. We are part of the system. So that's what existence in annihilation means. To give an example of how we can visualize this, because it's really hard to understand, is if we have a diamond, it's really beautiful, and we really want to show off this diamond. If we put a mirror, what will the mirror do? The mirror will reflect the beauty of the diamond. However, if we start covering up the mirror with different stickers and pictures and notes, sticky notes, you see what happens. Any thoughts? Well, what happens is the value we give to the diamond, or the beauty of the diamond, starts becoming overshadowed by all the different random complex things that we put alongside it. So that's really what existence in annihilation is. Our heart should be completely open for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So having this sense of me should be gone, because it's just like a sticker or a sticky note that's just removing part of the value of our reflection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Remember, we are the Khalifa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on this earth. We're meant to represent His attributes. So I guess having ourselves there is just a hindrance. So we should try serving Him in everything, becoming true servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's existence in annihilation. Next up is peace of mind and hardship. This image is actually really beautiful. It really sums it up quite nicely. We'll probably have to explore this image a bit further. But it's this happy face that's drawn in the sand. And you can see what's directly behind the poor happy face. It's the tide. And let's be honest, if we could play on this, if it was a video, what would happen as soon as we could play? The tide would come in and the smiley face would disappear. Yet the smiley face, although so close to annihilation and destruction, so close to non-existence, is still happy. And that's really what it is. It's when we're in our hard times and when we're struggling, we're always positive because we know this is all what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants and is part of His system. The best example we really can see of this is given to us in the Quran by the story of Nabi Ayoob alayhi salam. He says, إني مسني الضر وأنت أرحم الراحمين. If you know the story of Prophet, sorry, did I say Yunus? Oh my god, sorry. Prophet Idris, sorry. Wow, that was not good. Not what I wanted. So pretty much his story is that he had a lot of children, a lot of wealth, and a lot of great things in the dunya. And then one day Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took all of it away from him and gave him many diseases, and he got really tired and old. And he suffered this for a long time. Yet even in the pinnacle of his pain and agony, he said Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Arhamur Rahimin, the most merciful, not just merciful, the most merciful. Which showed he never gave up. He always had this tranquility and peace even in his hardship. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rewarded him by returning everything he had, if not more, and gave him perfect, he returned to him his health. The story really teaches us what it means to have peace of mind in hardship. Next up is dignity and humiliation. And the best story for that is the story of Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam. When Zulaykha was there, and which was the wife of the Aziz, or the person that he was living with, she began to try seducing him. But if you remember, even in that position, she was one of the greats. If he theoretically, fell to her seduction, he could have had glory, wealth. She promised him so much stuff. But he still had that dignity, that proudness of being someone who's a Muslim, a servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which humbles himself and puts himself down because he remembers that he's just a servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that mentality allowed him to reject all the things of the dunya, or the desires that came to him. And we can really see it in his speech when he says in the Quran, in Surah Yusuf, sorry, we don't have the ayah here, but if you remember when he says that he'd rather prison, what does that show? He's putting himself in the hardest position possible. We always see prison as people where the low people go. People that, he's humbling himself to such a level to preserve his dignity as a servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and not to fall prey to his ego or to his desires. That's what dignity and humiliation is. And in Dua Maqam al-Akhlaq, we can really see this personified. We say, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa alih, ولا ترفعني في الناس درجة إلا حطتني عند نفسي مثلها ولا تحدث لي عزا ظاهرا إلا أحدثت لي ذلة باطنة عند نفسي بقدرها. So never make people see me in a better position until you make me see myself in a lower position. Always humble ourselves. Always keep ourselves low. Never let that ego control us. That's what dignity and humiliation is. Always make us see our faults and remember that we are your servants, imperfect creatures, and you're the only perfect one. Next up, poverty and richness. Two really great examples we can see, Nabi Dawood and Nabi Sulaiman alayhi salam. People that were made kings among their people. But yet we never saw that richness, got them, in over themselves. It never increased their ego. In fact, they would always go down to the level of people, talk to the people, help them with their problems, relate to the people, put themselves down even if they have the greatness. So it's us, especially, I reckon this one's the most relevant for us people in Australia, for example. We're living quite well off lives compared to people in other places in the world. But that's not because we're great. It's not because we're rich, because in fact we are poor. We have to remember that we're poor. And we have to remember that the only rich person is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and how we should humble ourselves in that respect. Nabi Sulaiman especially was someone who was given the epitome of abilities. He controlled the winds, could talk to the animals, controlled armies of jinn. yet never saw it as something that was from himself, like Qarun did in the previous lecture. Qarun saw he had a lot of wealth, attributed it to himself. Sulaiman, the opposite. We can really see them as the opposites of someone who's been given ni'mah, or blessings from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and how they acted based on that. Lastly, I think it's the last one, I'm not sure. 5, yeah, 5. We're in the last one now. Patience and challenges. The most personified example of this is Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam. If you remember the story of Karbala, she saw so much darkness. She saw so much oppression. Yet what did she say? Ma ra'aytu illa jamila. I only saw but beauty. The difference between this one and then the one before, where it was, the story of Nabi Ayoob alayhi salam. Sorry, did I say that right last time? I didn't say. Did I say Ayoob? The Prophet? Sorry, the Prophet that got sick was Ayoob. I am so sorry. I'm mixed up my names. Ayoob is the Prophet. I remember now. Prophet Ayoob is the one that had that the sickness, and he was the one that was humble. I am so sorry about this, guys. Yeah. All right. So the difference between being patient in challenges and then being we said the word, I forgot what we used how we described it, but it was being happy in hardship. The difference between the two is that with patience, you don't necessarily have to be happy. What we mean by that is, sometimes, because it's related to an action of someone rather than the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we don't necessarily have to be, content and happy with it. But to be able to be patient and, always realize that there is some beauty because it is in the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala system, that is patience and challenges, and that's sort of the difference between the two. And we can really see it as well with the story of Nabi Nuh alayhi salam, how he had to wait so many years with these people and be patient with them, and yet they still didn't believe and called him stupid. And then when his son, in the Quran it says, وَنَادَى نُوحٍ رَبَّهُ فَقَالَ رَبِّ إِنَّ إِبْنِي مِنْ أَهْلِي وَإِنَّ وَعْدَكَ الْحَقَّ وَأَنْتَ أَحْكَمُ الْحَاكِمِينَ. Although he's from my family, he's my son, I know that your truth and your judgment is the best. So he didn't question it. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling him that I don't want you to question, because if you question, you may be one of the ignorant ones. It really shows how Nabi Nuh, even in that difficult situation where he saw his son, he knew his son was going to die, and he was a lost cause, he never questioned the judgment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So now the real question is, how do we know where we are? Like, what level we are, Well, the thing is, we should really start by looking at what we define as good and bad. Is our perception of goodness heaven and our family and things like that? Or is it social media, gaining prestige? Like, I'm not going to tell you what is right and wrong. I'm not going to tell you what you should be judging. But that, hopefully, would sort of give you an insight of what level you're at. What are you aiming for? What are your goals? We can really see it personified if you just take down, we're going to give you homework, I'm sorry for this lecture, but take some time, pause this video, write down 5 different things that you're trying to achieve in, let's say, the next year. Try seeing what are they related to? See them, it's great to have goals, so put them down. Are they towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala completely? Are they towards actualizing yourself? Are they towards material things? It's not necessarily a bad thing. Don't see, I'm one of my goals is to do well in VC. Material thing, scratch it out. No. Still work for that. But at least try having 5 different goals that work towards bettering yourself in terms of your level and your actualization. It's a really good strategy. It's called self-accountability. It's something that Ahlul always tell us to do, and we don't do enough. They even say to do it daily. So just to review yourself every single day, your actions, your intentions. Why did I do this? Why did I do that? Sometimes we do good things, but the intention was wrong. Fixing that up. So I guess that's just 8 exercises that we want you guys to do. Because, sometimes goodness can personify itself in many different ways, whether it's humbleness, having some alone time talk with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, defending what is right, being kind, all these different things. And alternatively, see if some of your goals or some of your actions when you're reviewing yourself are a waste of your time. Actively saying it, a waste of your time. Don't even deserve to be in that quarter for yourself. If they just have negative consequences, no positive, the time you may think they're fun, gossip and backbiting, no positive consequences. Both in dunya and the akhirah, scratch that one out of your list. Or review yourself and just judge. Why do I, let's say, have an application, or why do I have this specific ni'mah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to me? Am I using it correctly? These questions are what really will help show you what level you're at. And we're not talking about like level in terms of your divine universal soul necessarily, but even towards the other four souls, specifically the other three souls, specifically towards your divine intellectual soul. What level, where are you at in terms of actualization? Because only by really reviewing these actions can we achieve what we said we want to achieve in our animalistic soul lecture. We said that a lot of the time we only see the appearance of something, when we should be striving to look at the reality of it. And we can only get to this level if we have this self-accountability that comes with this insight that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can give us. It's only by reaching the neighborhood of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so the closer we reach to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the more we'll be able to see. Eventually, we'll get vision like the vision of Allah the Ahlul Bayt. Their vision was they would walk around actively in the street and they could only see the reality of things. And sometimes it was frightening to them to see like the reality of this person, because they'd see their sins personified in them. They'd see their hereafter form. So what we want to try doing is only, see the appearance, the reality of things. And not just that, actively try dissociating ourselves from this appearance and from the dunya. So, what do we value in life? The questions we ask. I'm going to give you a list of the questions. Just ask yourself these questions. Ponder about them. What do we value in life? What do we prioritize daily? Why do we prioritize these things? What are our goals for the next 10 years, let's say? Not just 1 year. Make it more long-term. See your long-term goals, at least not your short-term goals, but your long-term goals have any like merit in terms of your actualization. See if you've even tried implementing or working towards these goals, or are you just saying it and then you keep procrastinating and never reach that goal? Is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in our life? That's a really difficult one to ask, because we can easily say, yes, He is. I read Quran daily. But is He in your life? Think about that one. Is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in our plan, in our goals? So, when we die, we're going to be asked 4 questions by the angels. They're going to ask us 4 different things. And if we look at the 4 different things, we can really see a correlation between all 4 of them. This is the last slide, by the way, before the video. What did you use your youth for? What did you finish your life with? Where you got your money? And from where did you use it? Like, where did you use it? The last one, did you love the Ahlul Bayt? Why are these the 4 questions? It's because all of them show how close you are in the neighborhood of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How we use our youth is that time, and that really the time where we can make progress. The time when we'll be least busy in our lives. I know it's hard, we think we're busy, guys. 100%. It feels like we're busy, we have no time for anything religious. But we actually are going to be the most free for ourselves, to work on ourselves now. So let's do it. Because we're going to be questioned about how we used it. We don't want to say we didn't use it and I did it later on in life. By the way, that's question 2. Where did we finish in life? In terms of, had we returned the rights of everyone? But also, how close are we to the neighborhood of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? How close are we to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself? Where did we finish? The next one is, where did we get our money from and where we used it? Why that's important is it shows our interactions with the creations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if we saw ourselves or the ego as something, or we diminished our ego and saw the things around us. Finally, did we love the Ahlul Bayt? Why that's important, as we said in the Love Ahlul Bayt lecture, but if you forgot, there's a new dimension we can add to it. It's because they're the ones that are the neighbours of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the more we love the neighbours of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the more we can reach that neighbourhood too. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Alright, so the clip for today is from Pirates of the Caribbean. It's actually sort of For younger audiences, it might be a bit scary. So I guess if you have like younger siblings watching this, I'd recommend watching it first by yourself, seeing if it's appropriate, then showing them. But yeah, it's from the first movie, and I don't really think you need to know much of the plot. They're just bad guys that are immortal apparently, and they kidnapped this girl called Elizabeth Swan because her dad's the governor. Alright, so this is the clip.
The moonlight shows us for what we really are. We're not among the living, and so we cannot die. But neither are we dead. For too long I've been parched of thirst and unable to quench it. Too long I've been starving to death and haven't died. I feel nothing. Not the wind on my face, nor the spray of the sea, nor the warmth of a woman's flesh. You best start believing in ghost stories, Miss Turner. You're in one. What are you looking at? Back to work.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
I guess hopefully the message from that clip was quite obvious. But if it's not, we can discuss it. Pretty much what we're saying is all those people were like the people of the dunya, people that strive for this world only. And when they were exposed in the moonlight, we can say that's like being able to see the reality of things. She could see the reality of all of them. Something interesting that he said, we're not living nor are we dead. We said, remember, death is fully, achieving our purpose, and like just severing our ties with this world. So they're not dead. Neither are they alive. Being alive means to be working towards that goal of death. So we can relate to that. Those people that are working for their dunya only, that reality is going to be like that, because what they're doing. He said something, and another thing that was really interesting that he said was, I try drinking and eating, but I never quench my thirst or hunger. People keep saying, oh, I'll sin one more time and I won't sin again, or they try getting money. We see these people trying getting money, but they're never happy, because your desires will never be quenched unless you break free from your own desires and your own ego and realize that they're just temporary. Only then can you fully satisfy them. Because if you think that by doing something, you're satisfying your desires, or by sinning you're satisfying your desires, you're wrong, because you're just going to create an endless cycle, a loop, where you're never going to get quenched. So that's what literally the people that sin around us are like that. Like we know that people that we know are sinning, for example. And we can see a similar effect, I guess, with alcoholics. They say, oh, I'll only drink one more time. And suddenly, they get trapped in that cycle. That's what really addiction is. They get addicted to their desires, addicted to worldly things, so they can't escape that cycle. And they can't enjoy life, enjoy the real reason of life. They can never die, nor are they truly alive. And so that's something that we wanted to show. So it's sort of how we need to have this sort of ability to see the reality of things, not just the appearance of everything. That's it for today. It's a pretty short lecture, but it's a pretty full-on lecture, so inshallah you guys benefit from it. Thank you so much for being part of RSR. I know many of you guys just listen to lectures, you didn't do the quizzes, but for the people that do the quizzes, inshallah we will be releasing the last quiz tomorrow probably, and I'll be attaching the link to that in the video description as usual. The due date we're gonna say for the quizzes is the last day of Eid, so you know how there's more than one day of Eid. So the last day of Eid, I think, will be the due date. If we see that some people haven't finished and ask for more time, we may extend it to a week after Eid, but that would be the end of the due date. So and then that'll be the final, like no more answers will be accepted. Like we'll have it definite, and then what we do is we'll just tally up the scores and we'll announce the winners, inshallah. And remember, it's not about winning, it's about the learning journey and the experience. Inshallah, you guys are benefiting from listening to these lectures. And I'm sorry that because of coronavirus, we had to do it in the online setting. A lot of people said they didn't have the time or the capacity or the motivation to do it online, and that's completely fair enough. I'm not motivated to hear any of my uni lectures. But inshallah, if you have time, please do listen to them. We benefit from them, inshallah you guys can benefit from them too. Alhamdulillah rabbil alamin, wassalatu wassalamu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali bayti at-tayyibin at-tahirin.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.